celebration began just after 11 o'clock Tuesday night as the long journey to the Stanley Cup came to a glorious conclusion, and the Rangers raised the cup on Madison Square Garden ice. It was the first time for many. Some had won it before. For the Russian contingent, it was being the first to have their names inscribed. And for President and General Manager Neil Smith, it was reward for 5 years' hard work. Above all, it was a team effort that will long be remembered by adoring fans. The post-game celebration outside Madison Square Garden now gives way to an honor bestowed on New York City heroes, a ticker tape parade, as New York honors its newest sports legends, the 1994 Stanley Cup champions, the New York Rangers, with a victory parade today. It's a beautiful sunny day in Manhattan, and in lower Manhattan, you're looking at the parade route, the route in which the Rangers will travel from Battery Park to City Hall and be honored by adoring fans who have lined the parade route 10 and 20 deep. And welcome to our coverage of the Stanley Cup Victory Parade. I'm Sam Rosen, along with John Davidson, happy to be part of it. And what a glorious day for the Rangers, John. The celebration continues.
I think continuing is the right word, Sam. These people have had a great time. And I think it's not only the players and the management of the Rangers and people who work in Madison Square Garden, but it's the entire fan base of the New York Rangers who finally have a chance to celebrate, and why not take advantage of it? It's just a wonderful time for everybody, and certainly it's been a well-behaved group who've had a great time so far, and I think it's going to continue for just a little bit yet.
I use the words heroes and legends, and in fact they are, because this will be remembered for all time, the team that broke the 54-year curse.
That's exactly why a lot of ex-players, including myself, would like to look at these guys and really say thank you very much, because they did something that no one else was able to do. They did it in a great fashion, and in all sincerity, yes, it was great for the Rangers, and it was tough for Vancouver and New Jersey. But we've said this many times over the last few days, the sport of ice hockey just jumped right up about 3 notches, and it's right there with the other major league sports, and what a great feeling that is.
The excitement is building down around City Hall. That's where Al Trautwig is hanging out right now as he awaits for the players to join him. Right now we're going to go down to City Hall to Al, and he'll tell us what's going on. Al?
Well, Sam, these are the blue seats for this parade today. Skyscraper proof that New York today loves the New York Rangers, that the Rangers own New York. And after they receive the same treatment that Lindbergh did, the astronauts, Desert Storm troops, the Mets, and the Yankees before them, the New York Rangers will arrive here at City Hall. The fans got a head start. Some of them were here as early as 6 o'clock this morning, and as you said, 10 or 20 deep, with temperatures in the 90s and humidity very high. But no one seems disappointed that they're committing the time to celebrate this day. In 1940, we know that the Rangers went to a small room at the Royal York Hotel in Toronto and held a private party. There was no ticker tape parade, no parade at all. Very few people even knew when the Stanley Cup arrived in New York. But this is what a 54-year wait will do. Behind me, the steps of City Hall. That's where this Ranger team will be in just a short while. The Stanley Cup will be brought out. John Amarante will sing the national anthem. Mike Keenan, the mayor, will address the crowd. So will Mark Messier. And I think you will hear the chants of "Let's Go Rangers," which we've been hearing here for almost an hour and a half already. These fans can't wait to get this thing started. A few moments ago, as I glanced across the park, I saw the first signs of ticker tape. And as far as I can see, Graves sweaters, Messier sweaters, Leach sweaters. Everyone here is wearing a Rangers logo. It is very well organized. It is very peaceful. And it's an absolute thrill to be here. The band has started to play, and in just a short while, this will be the receiving point for the 1994 Stanley Cup champion New York Rangers. Can't wait. Back to you, Sam.
Thanks, Al. They're having a good time down at City Hall. We've also sent Bruce Beck down to Battery Park, where the parade will begin in just a few minutes. And moments ago, he filed this report on what's going on as the Rangers prepare to parade up to City Hall.
Sam, it's an unbelievable scene down here on Battery Park. People started assembling at about 8:30 this morning. They're expecting 500,000 fans to line the parade route. And as you look to the crowd, you see people wearing Rangers hats, Rangers jerseys. It's an absolutely bizarre scene. And this line, of course, painted blue, emblematic of the New York Rangers. And it's very easy to get this crowd riled up. You guys ready? Support, posters, fans everywhere. What's your story?
Oh, I came from Staten Island, took the kids out of school. No school today. Got to wait. I'm 43. I've been waiting since I was a kid, so they might have to wait a little longer. So
you got here early this morning. You excited?
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Over 30 years waiting for this. Over 30.
He's been here waiting for over 30 years, but this guy, a little bit longer. How long?
71. Waited 54 years for this thing.
54 years?
54.
Did you ever think you'd see a parade?
No, sir. No, sir. Well, I was here for the Desert Storm. I marched in the other parade, the Vietnam parade. Now I got the Rangers.
Finally get your real dream. What about you? You're a little younger. You're looking forward to
This
it?
is history. We're watching history, and it's the most exciting day.
Hey, how did you guys get out of school today? What's the story?
Oh, well, school was over yesterday.
It's over?
Yeah. Over. So we came up here at 5:30 in the morning. We went down to my dad's work, and we just came down here. We were up at we came down here about 5.
Who do you want to see the most? What Ranger?
Probably Brian Leach, because he's like the first American-born player to ever win the Conn Smythe, and he's just amazing when he gets the puck, and he's amazing in the defensive zone.
Kids of all different ages here getting excited for this parade. And as Abraham Lincoln said, this is of the people, for the people, by the people. It should be an unbelievable day. We'll be along the route to report as we go. Back to you, Sam and JD.
Thanks, Bruce. It's just incredible to watch the build-up, John. I wonder how the players are feeling about all of this.
Well, I know they were in Brighton Beach last night. I hope they made it back on time. They had a great time with the Russian contingent of people, and the Russian players took a lot of their teammates over there, and they had a real blast from what I understand. But
any vodka, sir?
Wasn't it amazing? Wasn't it amazing to hear that youngster talk about Brian Leach winning the Conn Smythe Trophy? And you really wonder, in years past, how many people in New York, children or whomever, knew what the Conn Smythe Trophy was. We certainly know what that trophy is. Is Mark Messier and Brian Leach. They're still hugging that thing, aren't they?
They've been carrying it around from the Letterman show to the Today show to the Howard Stern show. Wherever they go, the cup is with them. And we will continue our coverage of the Stanley Cup Victory Parade in just a moment. The Rangers gathering at Battery Park on the Stanley Cup Championship float as the parade is getting set to begin. Just moments away, Adam Graves is there, Brian Leach, Mark Messier, and Mike Hudson.
Steve Larmer was already sitting down in position.
He's the first one everywhere. There's the parade route up Broadway from Battery Park to City Hall. What a glorious moment awaiting the New York Rangers, the Stanley Cup champions.
Remember, the Rangers at the beginning of the season, right at the start of training camp, looked at a video that was put together by MSG producer Joe Whalen regarding past parades and what it would be like if they ever had a chance and maybe to dream about a parade. And here it is. It's reality. It's just moments away.
Isn't it interesting how Coach Mike Keenan took that right from the beginning in September, used that as a motivational tool, and it stood up for the rest of the season. They showed him that same thing before Game 7.
You kind of wonder about these types of ideas. You know, some rather cynical people would say, it's kind of corny, isn't it? But we were together with Mike Keenan the night that idea was born. We as television people were together having dinner with the head coach for the first time, discussing how our network deals with games and would he be happy with us all year, and try to build a relationship. And sure enough, the thought came up at that point about putting together past parades on video for his players to take a look at and again to dream about it. And look at the smiles. Adam Graves, Mark Messier, Brian Leach surrounding the cup. The Messier family I see there.
As you mentioned earlier, the Rangers have been going around displaying the cup. Wednesday night, they went on to the David Letterman show. Let's take a look at how it went.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's one of our stage managers, Biff Henderson. How you doing? What do you want? What? Excuse me, just a minute. This is highly irregular. You know, Biff, we're right in the middle of a show. And if it gets dull, I have to pass stuff out. I got it right here. Oh, yeah, it's right here. Is this what you're looking for?
What's he talking about?
Oh, it's this. Yeah, I got it right here.
It turned out great. You know, I was really happy to be able to go on with Mike and Brian, and you know, been a big fan of Letterman's for a long time, and you know, Brian and I watched it a lot throughout the season, and it was a real treat to be able to go on.
Okay, folks, we're going to bring out the Zamboni. Now, Brian and Mike, he doesn't let you talk, or you guys are just hungover?
Just like both these guys here to give all the responses.
So, tell us about your series. I mean, unbelievable balletic goaltending. What a display.
To be honest, I think Mark's right. We went into this series with a little bit less than our full after taking a pretty tough series against the Devils. And I personally didn't feel very good after the first game. I let in a goal by the end of it, and I felt I owed the team. And it took us 6 more games to do it, but it was a bit of a monkey off of all of our backs, particularly me, though, just because I didn't feel I played very well in game 1.
Don't take offense at this, but as a goalie, wouldn't you like to be taller?
Wider.
Maybe it is wider.
He was unbelievable. I don't know if he's specifically a hockey fan, but he seemed like he was genuinely interested in what we've accomplished, and was just very supportive. Funny guy, but really he was seemed to be sincere. It was great.
The celebration for the New York Rangers. Rangers on Letterman, huh?
What's balletic? What do you say, balletic? Balletic goaltending? I've been called a lot of things when I played goal.
You never did a ballet on ice?
No, that's what it is.
That's right.
I last heard David Letterman last night was seen skating at the Katona Ice Rink, thinking about next season.
The view of New York City from the Gulf airship as we get set for the parade to kick off from Battery Park. The Rangers gathering at that float, which you saw moments ago. Look at the people packed in on that parade route.
I really don't think the Rangers players fully realize how big this is going to be. This is gigantic. This is something that, when growing up as a youngster involved watching sports and other things, you've seen ticker tape parades on television with New York sports teams and of course other great things that were certainly looked at and admired. But I don't think Ranger hockey players realize what's ahead of them in the next few hours.
Astronauts, presidents, and now sports heroes, the New York Rangers, to be honored with a ticker tape parade. Our coverage of the Victory Parade continues in a moment. Welcome back to our coverage of the New York Rangers Stanley Cup Championship Victory Parade. You're looking at the Gulf airship hovering over New York City. We will be getting shots of the parade route throughout the afternoon as the Rangers head up from Battery Park to City Hall. And you can see the police escort beginning to head out. And that means the start of the parade is about to go. What do you think, John?
I think it's tremendously exciting. It certainly shows the passion that New Yorkers have when something like this has happened. And certainly, I don't think people that play hockey in different cities around the league fully understand how passionate New Yorkers are. And I think when they watch things like this, they fully realize how great it is to play as an athlete here in this city. It's a tough city, but it's a fair city, and it's a great city as you see the response here.
As the parade begins, we're going to send you back to City Hall, where Al Trotwig is standing by for an update. Al?
Well, Sam, I believe you are looking at thousands of fans who have just gotten the best news of their lives. A few moments ago, the New York City Police, controlling the show here, opened up this huge corridor for the fans, and those are the ones who got here the earliest. Those are the ones that I spoke to just a short while ago. And I don't think any of them thought that in a matter of a few minutes they were going to get to be about 40 yards or so from the podium, which will hold the New York Rangers in a short amount of time. There's been an interesting rumor going around here at City Hall, by the way, that Mayor Giuliani is going to appoint Mike Keenan to solve this Long Island Railroad strike, thinking that if he can get the Rangers to do this, he can get the Long Island Railroad workers to do just about anything in cooperation with the MTA. Now, they've been playing some music here at City Hall, and I don't know if it's specifically chosen to create the mood that is in the minds of so many people following this, but it's Benny Goodman, and it's from the big band era, and it's Glenn Miller. The sounds of 1940 have been echoing across here at City Hall. Now, the parade, as I understand, is just about to get going. The ticker tape has already started flowing from the windows here on Broadway, which will carry the New York Rangers and their victorious parade up here to City Hall. And the anticipation here is really something special. The amount of news coverage, the amount of reporters, the amount of photographers. The chief is even here. Everyone is waiting, and as I said, virtually everyone is wearing a New York Rangers logo. We will be here for the mayor to welcome the New York Rangers to City Hall and to give them their keys to the city. They'll need a lot of keys to the city. But for now, let's go back to you, Sam.
Thanks, Al. And congratulations to Mayor Giuliani, because he has really been involved in this from the beginning. A big Rangers fan. He's been at the games, supportive of the team, and he just dove into this headfirst, John, and decided to honor the Rangers with a huge celebration, and full marks to him for the way he's handled this in giving the Rangers the honor and the just due for what they accomplished.
Well, we've had opportunities to meet the mayor and his family, and I know after Game 7, we spent actually quite a bit of time with he and his family, and it was quite interesting to see how charged up he was about this and how he promised that there would be a real nice, proper celebration, and we're certainly seeing that. Again, that's the Rangers team on the float. They're excited. They're fired up. But yes, I agree. And when you talk to people around New York now, you know, and people talk about hockey and the club and what's happened, and I always end up saying, you know, I have a few chances now to meet with the mayor. What a nice fella. And they all go, you know what, he's doing a good job too. And when we see stuff like this, it's even better.
It's funny what Al said about Mike Keenan. I don't know that Mike Keenan will get involved in the Long Island Railroad, but this is a special time for him. A man, a dedicated coach, a career coach who had 4 strong years at Philadelphia, 4 more strong years at Chicago, let go amidst controversy in Chicago. Of course, he felt there was an unjust firing, hired right after the disappointment of the 1992-93 season. And he, too, just as Mark Messier came to New York with a mission, he, too, came with a mission.
I think when you look at the coaches who have won, and the majority of them, you can hear the fans, can't you? Let's go Rangers. Listen to that. My goodness, that's the best music I've heard all day already. Anyway, these great coaches who win, push people to their limits. Sometimes they break the limits of certain people. Then they have to get recharged and be pushed again. And coaches do that. And at the times you disagree with them at what they can do or how hard they're pushing you. But in the end, when things like this are proven, you understand that the coach pushed you and made you a better player. Look at the paper.
I've seen a lot of that in my office, but look at that. Getting ready to be tossed off the buildings in Lower Manhattan.
What an experience.
Onto the New York Rangers.
That must be. Can you imagine the energy that these people must feel? And again, this group right here, the players, I don't think they have any idea what's around the corner.
Neil Smith and his wife Katya at the front of the float. Down below,
there's the mayor. Sergei Nemchinov.
Alex Kovalov. He has
Alexei
been
Kovalov,
enjoying,
yes.
he has been enjoying this immensely. When I went into the locker room right after the game, he was jumping up and down in the corner yelling, "We're the first. We're the first." He is so happy about this Russian contingent on the Rangers being the first to be on a Stanley Cup. It's incredible.
Can you imagine at his young age, he's won an Olympic gold medal. He won it in France in 1992. And then in his second year pro, his first ever NHL playoffs, he wins the big one, or what I think is even bigger than the Olympics. And the Russian players talked about winning Olympic golds was tough, but it's only a 10-day tournament, 10 days to 2 weeks. The NHL playoffs is grueling. It's almost 2 months long. You have to win 16 games. It took the Rangers 23 games to win the 16. They scored 81 goals. They gave up 50. And in the end, a 1-goal win over Vancouver. It was a punishing, grueling battle. And these guys learned something. Young people like Alexei Kovalov, who was so good in the last game in victory.
Yes. See a young player like that really emerge as one of the future stars of the New York Rangers in the biggest game of the franchise history. Well, the Rangers float has begun to head up Broadway towards City Hall, where Al Trautwig is awaiting them. Al, let's get your update. What's happening?
Sam, one of the first big events I ever covered was the 1984 American League Championship Series that sent the Detroit Tigers on to the World Series itself. And I remember walking into Tiger Stadium and thinking it feels a little bit like just another baseball game. And then suddenly, right overhead, about 50 feet above Tiger Stadium, there was the blimp. And suddenly I knew this is not just another event. Who would have thought that the Rangers could have anything that would be covered by a blimp? But here we are. And the Gulf airship is one of the largest airships. It's 197 feet long, 7 stories high, and it's piloted by Peter Buckley and Hunter Harris on this hot, hazy, humid day in Lower Manhattan. It's just sailing away now, probably on its way to Battery Park to capture the beginning of this Rangers Stanley Cup Victory Parade. Now, a few moments ago, I mentioned that there was one very special guest here among the many. He's the Chief. He's been part of the Rangers scene for so long. Actually had to be hospitalized at one point in this season, so he's given himself as well to this cause. But, Chief, I'm a little disappointed. You didn't shave today.
I didn't shave because I overslept for...
Wait a minute. The Chief overslept for the victory parade? How did that happen?
I overslept. I was late for an interview with Channel 5 News, and I hopped onto a train. In fact, I was on my way to the train. I was even dressing as I was on my way to the train. My mother dropped me off at the station. But this is a great day. And I noticed the other night you were filled with champagne. I envied you. I said, boy, I wish I was there, but I got to tell you, it was a great night. And I know it's one of the highlights of your career. And I know all of us associated with the Rangers and Madison Square Garden. We love you, and you do such a fantastic job, and I think Mike McCarthy should give you a raise.
Well, it would be nice. You know what the best part about it was? It was about 85 or 90 degrees in that locker room, which is what it is here today. Yeah. And the champagne was ice cold. So it went over my head, down my back. It just felt like it felt great. Now, you've waited so long, and I wonder if in your wildest dreams you ever believed that this was really going to happen. I mean, I know you're a fan and you're a diehard, but did you ever give up that this was possible?
Well, at times, I'll be very honest with you, and I'll be honest with all of our viewers. I've had doubts. Any real Ranger fan would have doubts. But it's here, and I know it's not the Twilight Zone, Al. And I know I know what Marv said on the radio, that these are words that we would never imagine it would. I think he said something like that. So congratulations to the whole Ranger organization and to MSG Network. You guys are, without a doubt, the best in the game.
He almost overslept. But the Chief is here, Sam and JD, and the anticipation is growing. The ticker tape is really beginning to flow now on Broadway. Back to you.
Nice of Al to bring his agent, the Chief, along to ask for a raise for Al. But you can just get a sense, see the ticker tape coming down, see the crowds of people. And right now we are going to go to the parade, and we believe on the phone is Nick Kypreos. Nick, can you hear us? We think Nick has a cellular phone. Come in, Nick Kypreos. Hello, Nick. I think he disconnected. He was making travel plans.
Travel for the next block and listening to the sweet music of the people yelling, "Let's go Rangers."
New York Rangers heading out from Battery Park up Broadway. Throngs of people. It'll be interesting to get the crowd estimates of this. The ticker tape has started to come down as the New York Rangers continue their victory parade. We'll be back with more coverage in just a moment. Welcome back to our coverage of the New York Rangers Stanley Cup Championship Victory Parade. Sam Rosen along with John Davidson, Al Troutwig, and Bruce Beck. And for the New York Rangers heading up there, a good time as they continue celebrating their Stanley Cup Championship victory.
It's been just a whirlwind ever since the third period was winding down at Madison Square Garden the other night. Everything just exploded. It all happened at once. The players have not had any time to rest, nor have they wanted to rest. It's just been a fabulous, fabulous ride.
You see the ticker tape being tossed down on Broadway along the parade route. You know what was great, John, in the post-game festivities, both here at the Garden, then the players went off to another party that went on to the early morning hours, is how the players were sharing it with the fans, letting the fans touch the cup, even on the ice, parading around, letting the fans reach over the glass and touch the cup.
As far as I know, it's the only trophy in sports that when you have the championship, the players stay out on the playing field itself. Of course, it's ice with hockey, and the announcements are made. The player who wins the most valuable player is out there on the ice, and then the players have a chance to celebrate. And if it's on home ice, you have the chance to celebrate with your fans, and there's a bond there that happens. And every person that was in the building in Madison Square Garden that night, well, I'm sure remember that the rest of their lives. They were there, they were a part of it, and of course the viewers had a chance to watch it. It wasn't like going into a locker room in a very private surrounding and having the commissioner of the league or whomever present it to the ownership. This was players first, ownership second, and fans were a part of the whole thing. It's just a wonderful, wonderful experience.
And the cup itself will be passed along from player to player during the course of the summer.
It's already been banged up a bit, I think. I know we left Madison Square Garden at something like 3:30 in the morning after they had won it. We went down to a restaurant for a few minutes, and Esa Tikkanen had the Stanley Cup, and he was running up and down the side street with hundreds of people out there, and good people, everybody having a great time, very well behaved, and he was letting them kiss the cup and hold the cup and take photos with the cup. The cup has a lot of miles on it, but the cup seems to have a smile because everyone else does too.
Get a lot of inspiration from fans, and when I was heading up to the broadcast booth on Tuesday night, I saw Stephen McDonald, who's one of the great fans, the police officer who was shot down in the line of duty, and I wished him luck and he wished me luck, and Bruce Beck caught up with him. He's at the parade today. Let's go to Bruce.
Along the parade route, it is wonderful to see the Stephen McDonald family, Stephen, wife Patty Ann, and Connor. And Stephen, what does this mean to be able to share in the enjoyment of a Ranger victory?
It's a moment I don't think we expected to see, and I thank everyone for making it possible. It makes me feel very good about New York and about life.
Your relationship with this team goes way back to 1986 when they used to send you tapes while you were in the hospital.
That's correct. Phil Esposito and the organization made it possible for us to watch the games in Bellevue Hospital.
Patty Ann, the excitement and the enjoyment of being here and sharing in this victory celebration.
It's wonderful to see all the New Yorkers come out for the Rangers. It's just being there at the game the other night and then being here is just wonderful.
With the Stephen McDonald Extra Effort Award, I mean, you have been a part of this Rangers family for many years, and there's got to be a special bond there between the two of you.
Well, the Rangers the organization have been wonderful to Stephen, Connor, and myself. They've not only been generous and supportive, but friendly. They've been wonderful.
Connor, you might be the biggest McDonald fan, of all. You've been at how many games in the playoff?
I've been to the Islanders game, the Capitals, and the Devils, and 3 games? Many games.
Now, what about that poster? How long have you had that poster for? Who made it?
My grandma.
Wow, that's a great poster. I've seen you carrying that at the Garden.
Yes.
Who's your favorite Ranger?
Mike Richter and Mark Messier.
Great. I know that you're going to love every minute of this parade. I know you'd rather be riding in it than watching it, but that's the way it goes. And Stephen, on behalf of everyone involved in the Rangers organization, we're so pleased you're here to share this with us today.
Thanks. I'm ready to do it next year.
All right, let's go back to Sam and JD.
Thanks, Bruce. As Stephen McDonald talks of repeat, the Rangers heading up the Victory Parade route on their way to City Hall, expected to arrive around 1 o'clock, maybe a little after, where there will be player introductions, speeches from Mike Keenan, Neil Smith, I believe, expected to speak as well, Mark Messier. It should be a great, great reception at City Hall. Right now, the parade continues in Lower Manhattan. Look at that. What a great route. I love the smiles on the McDonald family, John.
It's just wonderful to see that actually to listen to Stephen talk about the Rangers winning, and it was extra special for him, and it's all about life, he said. It's just a wonderful thing. And yes, the Rangers and the McDonald family have a special bond. Many times we know that it's been carried through by the Rangers and sending the tapes for Stephen in the road games, home games, so they're able to watch, and you can see the youngster Connor being able to grow up with the Rangers as a fan. Should mention that the Rangers last night, there were the NHL Awards dinner was up in Toronto, and Adam Graves and Neil Smith and the crew, they had to fly later yesterday afternoon up to Toronto, did the award show, then arrived back this morning at 3 o'clock in the morning on a charter aircraft, and then we're up very early this morning to try and get set up for this. So there's a lot of people operating on very little sleep, but it's certainly worth it.
Adam Graves, the only Ranger honored, and you can go on and argue about whether others should have received awards, but nevertheless, Adam Graves got the King Clancy Award for his service to the community, and Adam Graves just one of many, but certainly a leader among the New York Rangers in his involvement in the New York community with underprivileged children. Our coverage of the Stanley Cup Championship Victory Parade continues in just a moment.
MSG congratulates Coach Mike Keenan, Mark Messier, Brian Leach, and the rest of the 1994 Stanley Cup champion New York Rangers.
Welcome back. The Victory Parade for the New York Rangers continuing up Broadway. Streams of ticker tape coming down. The fans, you can see the crowds waving, cheering. And yes, it's ours, say the New York Rangers. Stanley Cup belonging to the New York Rangers. Interesting to watch the celebration that has gone on in New York, which began right after the game. The crowd at Madison Square Garden. I know you went through this, John, in the radio shows that we did all throughout the week leading up to Game 7. People were wondering, what would the celebration be like? Well, the celebration was absolutely wonderful. This was outside the Garden right after the game. People diving into the crowd. It was joyous, and it was really controlled. There were no arrests. There were no injuries. Everyone had a wonderful, good time. I was sad to see, and I know you were, what happened in Vancouver that night.
Oh, my. And here's a shot of it. It was really quite something. And I don't think any city is immune to thinking that their city would never be involved in something like this. And to be honest with you, having this happen in Vancouver is quite appalling. It's a lovely city in a very quiet part of Canada, and to think that that has happened there, it's quite bothersome. And certainly there's probably a few bad people that created a large ruckus for a lot of good people. However, it's certainly a lesson to be learned. All I can say is here in New York City, there was a lot of meetings with the police department. There's a lot of meetings with security people in Madison Square Garden, and they were prepared. And then there was a lot of talk on the radio, a lot of calmness. A lot of people really asked the people of New York, if the Rangers do win, respect victory. Respect New York City. And it's certainly good. And I think everybody is to be congratulated, in particular the fans themselves, who showed how great this city is. And a lot of times we get the bum rap here. And I'm a Canadian living in New York City. I was proud of New Yorkers, and it made me feel very, very strong about living here.
They were prepared for the worst. They got the best.
That's great.
And the celebration continues as you watch the confetti and the ticker tape coming down on the New York Rangers, who are heading for City Hall, where Al Trotwig is standing by with a big radio fan of the New York Rangers, the overnight schmoozer of WFAN, Steve Summers. Take it away, Al.
Well, Sam, some people deserve an awful lot of credit for what this team accomplished, but for getting the fans through it. The psychoanalyst's couch was manned by Steve Summers every night after some rocky moments. You heard some conversations from fans who are about as desperate and then suddenly about as joyous as people can be.
And you are also describing me as well, desperate, and also somebody not so much a psychologist as one Al who needs one.
Steve, when you look out and after talking to these fans for all these years, can you put into words what you think this means to this city and to these fans?
Oh, I think it means everything. It's a love thing. It's a thing, Al, that has to do with loyalty and love and allegiance. It has to do with extending beyond, of course, as you know, with the fans and the team and the organization. It's a good shot in the arm for the entire city, making everybody today feel about 1.5 feet taller than they actually are.
Well, the city of New York estimates that this run to the Stanley Cup has brought $40 million into the New York City coffers, and that's one of the reasons why they don't feel so bad footing a little bit of the bill for this today. Now, you have an interesting WFAN New York Rangers inside story. Now, one of the people you would think that would absolutely have to be here today is Howie Rose, but it's not the case.
No, it isn't, Al. Howie Rose was going to be in one of the cars in the parade, and of course he was going to be doing up on the podium, step on my toe and I'll step on yours, so we can all get a kick out of that. But earlier this morning, he gets word that Gary Cohen with the Mets, his wife having a baby, he's got to leave Florida. Howie Rose right now is in the air on his way to Florida to work with Bob Murphy in the Mets game tonight. Can't be here, and you got to believe that Howie Rose, who grew up in Bayside, Queens, lifelong Ranger fan, Ranger broadcaster, is dying because he can't be here today.
We just saw Mike Keenan enjoying this parade, and I can't help but think this was a man who started the season with a vision. He planted this vision in the players' minds, and now they're actually seeing it. I mean, normal people don't get a chance to do things like this.
No, this is you got to think that for Mike Keenan and for the organization, for the broadcasters involved, whether it's what you do with the Rangers every game, me taking calls from Ranger fans in the middle of the night, it is just a good feeling that goes around, that permeates, not just, as I said before, a team, an organization, the fans, but an entire city. And it's so good, Al, because you know New York is so used to taking so many bad shots. How nice is it to take a good shot in the arm?
Now we're beginning to hear a rise in the noise level here. I get the feeling that a float is nearing City Hall, because this is not just normal noise. This is, they're here. They are here.
Finally, yeah. This is David becoming Goliath. This is before becoming after. This is Charlie Brown finally winning and hitting a home run. Because of all of that, we have a parade today. We have the loser becoming a winner, and all of us partake and participate and feel like champions. That's the nice thing about what the Rangers have done. We all kind of feel we could share in the joy and happiness of them winning the Stanley Cup.
And by the way, when Steve Summers comes on the air every night, you know he comes on with the old radio beginning to Captain Midnight, and we've put a date on Captain Midnight. It's roughly 1940. It's close enough for us to get away with it, right?
I never let facts get in the way of a good story anyway.
All right, so we'll go with it. Captain Midnight, 1940.
You got it.
Hey, Steve, thanks so much for your time.
Thanks, Al, for having me very much.
Now, Ranger fans are going to be happy. I don't know what you're going to do at night, but I have a feeling you'll think of something.
Okay.
All right, Steve Summers, man's the overnight on WFAN. Right now, things are really starting to get special. I mean, very special here at City Hall. Back to you, Sam.
Thanks, Al. Thanks to Steve Summers. As the parade continues, the New York Rangers in their float raising the Stanley Cup. Moments ago, you saw Mike Keenan and Dick Todd, Colin Campbell in the float, along with Craig McTavish. They just headed up from Battery Park.
Listening to WFAN, we've done a lot of driving lately, back home to Westchester, back into the city. And it's become quite amazing. And it's for the first time since I've been here in New York, Sam, I think, hearing callers call up and say, you know something, I'm an Islander fan, but I really marveled at what the Rangers did, and I really think it's great for hockey. It's amazing what has gone on here in the last few weeks. People calling up, I'm a big fan of the Devils, but this was just great for hockey, and let's celebrate and have a good time. And I've never heard that before, with hockey fans from different teams bonding a little bit in the New York area. It's just fabulous to watch, fabulous to listen to.
Taking a look at the view of Lower Manhattan from the Gulf Oil airship. For today's parade, the captains, Peter Buckley and Hunter Harris. The Gulf Blimp, one of the world's largest airships, 197 feet long, almost 7 stories high. It travels thousands of miles a year, covering sporting and special events throughout the Northeast. And here in New York, this is a special event honoring the New York Rangers, the 1994 Stanley Cup champions. And as we go to break, we'll be back with more coverage in a moment. First, we'll listen to the call of the Rangers winning the Stanley Cup from Marv Albert on radio. Marv broadcasting the Rangers for 28 years.
Boré and McTavish with 1 and 6/10 seconds. Puck is dropped. McTavish controls, and it's all over. The New York Rangers have won the Stanley Cup. Something that most people did not think they would hear in their lifetime. And the Rangers onto the ice to pound each other. Mike Richter being congratulated, and they are going wild here at Madison Square Garden. The New York Rangers have won the Stanley Cup.
The first Rangers float is arriving at City Hall. That's Kevin Lowe up front holding his daughter. Doug Messier, Mark's father, in the white shirt, sitting down. Adam Graves, Mike Richter, Mark Messier, Brian Leach, Steve Larmer, all on that first float. Look at the signs put together by the fans welcoming the Rangers to the City Hall area. What a beautiful sight.
It really is.
It's wonderful.
Oh, the bagpipes. All right. You hear the song now, Sam? I think it's a little Sinatra coming at us live here.
New York, New York. That was the theme song yesterday on Picture Taking Day at Madison Square Garden. New York, New York, blaring all afternoon, and it continues to be sung this afternoon as the Rangers parade up to City Hall. Let's go to City Hall, where Al Troutwig is standing by. Al?
Well, Sam, the Stanley Cup just drove by to the western side of City Hall. The music began to blare. New York, New York. A huge cheer went up. There were chills here. People were looking at each other as if to say, it is there. It is here, and it will be here. The chant of Let's Go Rangers has gone up from the fans. And I think I just saw the Guardian Angels to protect the cup, I would think, following the cup past City Hall, making a round trip behind the building, and eventually the players will wind up here on the top steps. Now another float is making its way there. And again, on this hot day, when the players do arrive here at City Hall, they're roughly going to be given about 15 minutes to sort of cool down. Everyone's going to gather their thoughts. They're going to be playing some music here. Bob Gallerstein, who's the PA announcer at Madison Square Garden, who got the honor of delivering Lord Stanley's Cup with his announcement on the ice the other night, will be talking to the fans here. Neil Smith's float also making its way here to City Hall. The president of Madison Square Garden, Bob Kutkowski, who sweated this one out like every hockey fan in New York. He with Neil Smith, with some of the most tearful embraces seen on the ice at Madison Square Garden on the 14th of June. Sergei Zubov, who will ever forget the replay of him moving up the ice, never looking down at the puck, always looking ahead, finally getting the puck in the right place. Sam and JD, it's great. Back to you.
Thanks, Al. So many images to remember of the Stanley Cup Finals. Will you ever forget Mike Richter stopping Pavel Bure's penalty shot? I mean, that's etched in my mind forever.
I think more than anything else, the playoffs were fabulous. But if you go all the way back to the 11th of September, when the team played its first game under Mike Keenan against Toronto Maple Leafs in London, England, on a 2-game series, and the Rangers won them both and won the mini tournament that these two teams had. I think it was French's Mustard Tournament or something. Right. They got the French Mustard Cup, and they thought it was fabulous. But I remember we had Mike Keenan mic'd during the 2 games, and you could hear right that these are exhibition games. First time he's looked at a lot of these players. He was coaching to win, and that was a message to his players. He's there, he was to win, and he pushed them all season long. And there were some rough spots, but very few when you really think about the season itself. And the All-Star game was in New York City. Mike Richter won the MVP in that. They won the President's Cup. Adam Graves set a record for goal scoring. Then it was playoff time, and this team was revved up for the playoffs, and it started a magical mystery ride that just ended up so beautifully on top.
Look at the fans.
Speaking of on
way
top.
up.
Oh my.
Overlooking Broadway, watching the procession up Broadway for the New York Rangers, the outpouring of affection for the 1994 Stanley Cup champions. And we talk about the fans who are out there, and all I can think about, John, are the fans in Madison Square Garden night after night, the fans up in the upper reaches of the Garden. And night after night, they would stop you, they'd stop me, they'd just ask, are they going to do it? Yeah. Are they going to do it? They just wanted that little bit of hope, and finally, it's come true for them.
Over the years, these are people that live and die with every trade, every win, every loss. They all put on their general manager's hats and propose trades. They all put on their coaching hats and tell you who should be on the lines, as who should be the centerman, who should be the right winger, and who should be starting in goal. And this guy's a bum, but that guy's great. The next day you say, well, no, I didn't mean that. That guy was great. He's not a bum. And just to hear these people go through this process year after year after year after year, and the amount of time traveling in the city and to go to games and to drive home and be happy and be sad, it just all has come together as one here. It's just, it's hard to really realize that this is happening. And when you see pictures like this, and the thousands and hundreds of thousands of people, my goodness, it really is something.
Neil Smith took the job as general manager 5 years ago. He put the team together that went on to win the Stanley Cup. Al spoke with him in the Victory locker room Tuesday night.
Neil, is there any doubt in your mind that the draft day trade deadline moves that you made are the ones that won the Cup for this team, or at least were the final piece?
Well, I think the biggest trade we ever made that won the Cup for us was the Mark Messier trade 4 years ago, 3 years ago. But I wanted the deadline solidified the team, and also getting Mike Keenan in, and there was so many things. I mean, there's been so many different things, and the trades we didn't make, and lots of things. It's incredible, and the staff.
You sound hoarse. You weren't cheering or anything, were you?
I was screaming my guts out. Don't worry, Al. This is the one time I've lost all professionalism.
Minute and a half to go, you went down and sat with your wife. I think it's the first time I've ever seen you sit with her, and obviously in a situation like this, the first time. Tell me about that.
It's the first time I've ever sat in the seats ever for a Ranger game, but I wanted to go down and give my wife a kiss and make sure she was all right, and see my mother and see all my friends, and just, it's their.
There wasn't an empty seat there. Exactly how did you find room?
Everybody was on their feet, so I was okay.
You know, Neil, so much has been said about the relationships between you and Mike Keenan and everything that's gone on, but you two went out of your way to embrace each other when this game is over. Was anything said?
No, just so we did it together and how happy we were, and we've always been that way. You know, the thing is about relationships is Mike has a different personality than I do, but that's okay. He's a coach, I'm a GM. We're not supposed to have the same personality. A lot is made out of it in the media that isn't even true. We've gotten along fine all year, but it's different than Roger Nielsen and Neil Smith, but it worked.
Now, what about all these rumors of Mike and thoughts about you too?
I have no idea. I don't think Mike's going anywhere. He's never indicated that to me, and he's got a long contract.
How about you?
As far as I'm concerned, this is home. I'm in my home, Madison Square Garden.
What did the champagne taste like that Mike Hudson allowed you to sip from Lord Stanley's Cup a few minutes ago?
It was the sweetest nectar I've ever tasted.
Neil, congratulations. A lot of people here who like you are very, very happy for you.
Thank you so much, Al.
A great job by Neil Smith. You saw the emotion, heard the emotion coming from Neil Smith. Yesterday we saw him at picture taking. He had no voice. He has just been so emotional over this, and rightfully so. He's worked so very hard, and it's a demanding job. It's that job behind the scenes because he gets all the phone calls. Everyone knows that Mike Keenan worked so very hard on the ice. Neil has worked off the ice. When Mike Keenan asked for something, Neil tried to deliver it, and in most cases he did with making the deals. And it's tough to make trades.
I think good coaches try to understand what their team has and whether there's pieces missing from the puzzle that's necessary to win. And especially more experienced coaches. And more experienced coaches love to use older players who have the experience to get through adversity, things that happen, good and bad on the ice. And there's no doubt that Mike Keenan and Neil Smith had to work together to make these deals, to find the missing pieces to the puzzle. And this puzzle was complete. It was a tough ride, but they got it done.
The Stanley Cup Victory Parade. As the Ranger floats approach City Hall, we will continue with our coverage on MSG Network right after this. City Hall, awaiting the arrival of the entire contingent of the New York Rangers. The procession continues. Mike Hudson waving to the crowd.
See some of the players videotaping their own parade, their own cell. They're standing there watching everybody with their video cameras in hand. And what a souvenir that would be to take home and show your family and relations up at wherever the players make their summer homes.
And so many players are from small towns in Canada. I don't know that, you alluded to this before, John. I don't know if they realized how immense this would be.
I think they do now. I think they're just probably in shock realizing what's happening to them. Another thing that's quite unique is that a lot of the players during the offseason, during the next 2 summer months, will be able to at times take the Stanley Cup and take it to their homes. You imagine putting it on your front lawn in some little town in southern Saskatchewan or Ontario and inviting the neighbors over and maybe chill a little champagne, throw it at the top, and have everybody in the neighborhood sip out of it. Maybe the coaches who were coaches when these kids, when these players were 9 years old or 8 years old, and these coaches drove them to the arenas and coached them in the middle of the cold mornings up in Canada and helped them along their way to become professional hockey players. Everybody will get a part of this, and that's just another unique thing that happens to the champions of the National Hockey League.
I mean, you think about how hard it is to win a championship, to win a Stanley Cup. And we know athletes in all different sports who have played so many years in whatever their sport and haven't been able to win. But here, this group able to put it together for this long journey to the Stanley Cup. Al Trotwig is standing by at City Hall as the Rangers are making their way there. Let's go back to Al right now.
Sam, something's really bothering me. What's wrong with this picture behind me? What's wrong? Who's missing? You and JD are missing, aren't you? It's tough that the assignments worked out that way. I mean, I'd love to be able to do something for you. I really would. But I don't really think there's anything we can really do for you. Or is there?
Here we are.
I feel like Monty Hall.
Well, we're in the... What do we...
Sam and JD, there's a police escort that's going to take you right here to City Hall. Get out of there.
Are you serious?
Let's go.
Look at this.
We need you guys.
What the hell is going on?
Follow those men. Follow those men.
Sounds good.
Come on, let's go. Give you a ride.
We'll see you from City Hall. This is great.
I can't believe it.
Well, if the New York City police can't get him here in about 5 minutes or less, then we're all in trouble, and I think that's exactly what that police escort is going to do. I know that for as much as Sam and JD wanted to talk about this parade and carry you through every inch and step of the way and talk about all the great moves and great moments of this season, they really wanted to be here. And with the help of the New York City Police Department, New York's finest, they are going to be here. Don't forget the briefcase. You have to pack. But you won't be here for very long. Well, I wish I could have seen that. It must have been interesting, but it's going to be great to see Sam and JD because they've sweated this one out with everyone else. JD, and I'll never forget this for as long as I talk about the Rangers. When John Davidson took a drink of champagne in the Rangers locker room, he really looked like a player who had played, and I think deep in his heart, he was taking a drink of champagne for all the great Ranger players who have played but have not won a Stanley Cup. But thanks to this 94 team, they can share in it a bit. Now behind me, everyone's waving, fanning themselves. It is extremely hot, and of course it takes a very special team to create a scene like this on a day in June in which the temperature is 90 degrees. And from high above you can see the confetti. The ticker tape has actually filtered and made its way over from the buildings nearby to City Hall, and there are no tall buildings right around City Hall. So there's Glenn Healy. What a fabulous role he played in a backup role for the New York Rangers this year, the ultimate sacrifice. And there were so many times when his best work wasn't done in the game, but in the locker room, supporting his teammates. Craig McTavish said, "This thing's not over until I see the shiny thing." Well, he saw the shiny thing again after being a captain with Edmonton and tasting a Stanley Cup a couple of times there. And he was the one Mike Keenan chose to take that last faceoff with 1.6 seconds to go. He used Craig McTavish's experience, and if you look back at that moment, McTavish just simply flung his body around into Pavel Bure, prevented him from getting the puck, and that clinched the Stanley Cup for this Rangers team. And you can think about a special moment for just about every one of the Rangers in this parade today. And you look at this glorious scene, as Bruce Beck told you, the New York City Police Department estimates that there are maybe 500,000 people taking part in this festival today. And you know, there were many years when people who scoffed at hockey in New York said, I don't know what all the fuss is about. There are only 18,000 Ranger fans. Well, they were wrong. I'm looking up at balconies. People are standing, throwing out confetti. Construction workers atop a skyscraper. From along this course, we get another report from Bruce Beck, who has now made his way finally to City Hall. Bruce.
Well, the old days of ticker tape are gone. They've been replaced by hockey cards, toilet paper, and even computer printouts. It really doesn't matter what it is, because the fans are tremendously excited right here in the Canyon of Heroes. Neil Smith and his lovely wife Katya with the victory salute. The Rangers, Sergei Zubov, riding in the car. It's an unbelievable scene with tremendous protection on either side. It is difficult to try to get a comment from the Rangers because of such tight security. But I'll tell you, they're just raining down paper here on the Canyon of Heroes. It is an unbelievable scene. Sam, JD?
Well, there's no way Bruce could have known that Sam and JD would get a police escort to make it from Madison Square Garden studios downtown to Broadway and City Hall. And now they're playing the music here at City Hall that became so popular after a Ranger goal, as Madison Square Garden rocked. Now things are beginning to settle down a bit, as I believe most of the players have arrived here at City Hall, and they're cheering as if Mark Messier just scored the goal. Tremendous spirit here amongst the crowd. Now, let's see, the local time here is roughly 20 to 1. Some of them have been here for almost 7 hours already. And as they sweated out the cup, they're sweating out this day, but every single one of them will tell you that it's worth it. I just saw a banner. I live in New Jersey, but I love the Rangers. And as the Rangers went to the Meadowlands, they found that out. The Stanley Cup champions are about to receive the keys to the city and take the Stanley Cup to the steps of City Hall. Back in a moment on MSG. Back live at City Hall, the music of the different eras of the Rangers. Right now it's the Beatles and the time of the Rod Gilbert Rangers, Jean Rattel, Eddie Jockman, Vic Hadfield. They started with the music of the 40s, and of course we know what the significance of that music was. They'll carry the music and become more current to the rock and roll that got this Rangers team ready for each and every game at Madison Square Garden. And as we talked about throughout our broadcast so far, this is the reality of a vision that took place in September before the Rangers went to London to play 2 games against the Toronto Maple Leafs. Mike Keenan's very first act as coach of the Rangers was to have a videotape assembled of what it would look like if this Rangers team could create a day like this. This is one of the first things they saw.
Looking in your eyes, I see a paradise. This world that I found is too good to be true. Standing here beside you, want so much to give you this love in my heart that I'm feeling for you. Let them see we're crazy. I don't care about that. Put your hand in my hand, baby. Don't ever look back. Let the world around us just fall apart. Baby, we can make it if we're heart to heart. And we can build this dream together, standing strong forever. Nothing's gonna stop it takes, I will stay here with you. Take it to the good times, see it through the bad times. Whatever it takes is what I'm gonna do.
Let them say we're crazy. What do they know? Put your arms around me, baby. Don't ever let go. Let the world around us just fall apart. Baby, we can make it if we're heart to heart. And we can build this dream together, standing strong forever. Nothing's gonna stop us now. And if this world runs out of lovers, we'll still have each other. Nothing's gonna stop us. Nothing's gonna stop us. Ooh, all that I need is you.
A marvelous scene at City Hall. Bruce Beck with you as the crowd continues to assemble, awaiting the formal ceremonies for the New York Rangers on this Victory Day celebration, a day that is just unbelievable and to experience is extremely special. Al Trotman will be hosting the formal ceremony shortly, so I've taken over here at this location. Let me just tell you, walking through the streets, you have to have a tremendous feeling for the people of New York and what they've endured over the past 54 years. I saw one particularly fascinating scene of a youngster with his dad, and they told me that none of the three ever experienced the New York Rangers winning the Stanley Cup. So you realize how long it's been. 54 years. It spans 3 different generations. The crowd continues to assemble here, and the music continues to blare. It was an incredible crush of people trying to get towards City Hall, but there are a lot of police around that are trying to guard off the area to anyone that's trying to get in. It's hot, but everyone is smiling, and when the Stanley Cup rolls by your particular location, all it does is evoke loud chants and loud cheers. And on Wall Street, a street that is known for the #1 business in all of the world, you couldn't believe people running out in the street and trying to touch the Stanley Cup or see some of their heroes. Unbelievable. The Gulf Air Blimp, piloted by Peter Buckley and Hunter Harris. It's 197 feet long, 7 stories high, and it is a particularly good place to be on a hot day in New York City. I'd say there are 10 to 15 television trucks just outside of the inside ring area, and the crowd continues to await the formal ceremonies here at City Hall. But right now, while we have the opportunity, let's go back to Game 7, June 14th, 1994, and relive the final moments of the Rangers and the Canucks.
Rangers are the Stanley Cup champions! And this one will last a lifetime!
No more purses! This is unbelievable! These people have waited a long time! Fans, players, coaches! Unbelievable!
Let the celebration begin!
What a series! 2 fabulous teams! Vancouver lost, but hockey was a winner for the New York Rangers and their supporters. No more 1940. It's gone. Congratulations, Rangers.
The 1994 New York Rangers have done it. And for every Ranger that ever put on a uniform, they can stand with pride. What a moment. A moment that has never been known at Madison Square Garden.
And on behalf of the former Rangers, thank you, 1994 Rangers. This is something special. Oh, remember this. Enjoy it.
came to New York 3 years ago to deliver the Stanley Cup, and there it is.
He's looking up at his family right now saying, I can't believe it.
How sweet it is. Kevin Lowe, a great champion. And there's the great one, Brian Leach.
Brian Leach had his shoulder frozen 3 or 4 times in the New Jersey Devils series just so he could play.
Adam Graves, the second time he has held the cup. Jay Wells, 15 years. Oh, look at that. 15 years he's waited for that. Esa Tikkanen. Another great veteran, Steve Larmer. Greg Gilbert, one of the veterans brought in. And now the Black Aces, Eddie Olczyk.
This team stayed together all season long. Look at Sergei Nemchinov. They know what it means. Alexei Komarov, you should be proud of yourself the way you played in this game. A spectacular game.
There's the man. Yes, Mike Richter. Boy, did he deliver in the clutch.
They love their goalies in New York City, and Mike Richter is at the top.
Ryan Noonan, Stefan Matteau, 2 players who came over to help solidify this team. Sergei Zubov, did he ever develop into a great one this year?
Joey Kosar couldn't play due to injury. Jeff Bukaboom, and you hear the boo for Bukaboom. This team believed. Oh, did they believe? And oh, was it tough. That is such a tough trophy to win. You do anything to win it. Did Dougie Lidster have a game when he had to play?
Mike Hudson. What a special moment for these players. In my mind, this is the hardest championship to win. And now the chant that will live a lifetime. 1994. Once again. He may not be in the NHL next season. He wanted to go out with a Stanley Cup. Alexander Karpovtsev takes in on the festivities.
Oh, and I just saw Howie Rose.
Mike Keenan.
That looks like a New York Ranger coach to me.
Well, he says he'd like to win it again. Yes, there's the headline. It is.
There's millions of fans in New York City who they're all a part of it. The support over the years. Everybody's a part of it. Neil Smith, congratulations.
5 years of hard work in putting this team together, and finally it's arrived. Colin Campbell. Dick Todd in his first year in the NHL.
Where are you going now?
It's 36 inches long. It weighs 36 pounds.
Time for a team photo. Messier did this a lot with the Edmonton Oilers. Get the teammates over. It's impromptu. You put that beautiful piece of silver there. Hey, all right.
Marv Albert has waited 28 years for this.
And how about our buddy Sal Messina? He's been a fan since the 50s.
Man, he was a Ranger player. Sat up in the stands as a backup goalie. How much does it mean to him?
This is the greatest photo for a team sport that these players will ever have. at the faces. Here comes Mike. Look at the faces. There's scars, there's cuts, there's teeth missing. Every bit of it was worth it.
A long journey. The marathon. And the Rangers win it.
So that was the party the other night, and what a party it was at Madison Square Garden. And today, a different type of atmosphere. We're outside at City Hall awaiting the formal ceremonies declaring New York a Stanley Cup town again for the first time since 1940. And we have been told just a couple of moments ago that 1 million New Yorkers have turned out for this marvelous celebration today. We'll be back with more on MSG in just a moment. This is the New York Rangers Stanley Cup Victory Parade on MSG. I'm Bruce Beck at City Hall, and we're just a couple of moments away from the formal ceremonies. And I would say that there's a crowd of about 20,000 within the immediate block. And as I mentioned a couple of moments ago, a crowd of 1 million pouring the streets of New York today. You know, Mark Messier said, once you get a taste of the cup, you never want to lose it. And now you know exactly what Messier was talking about, because this crowd has responded in amazing fashion. Messier won 5 Stanley Cups in Edmonton, but he said it would be nothing like winning one in New York, and he's absolutely right. Matter of fact, they thought of putting the Stanley Cup today in a bulletproof bubble car that carried Nelson Mandela 4 years ago, but after some serious thought, they decided the cup would be in equally safe hands around Mark Messier. And have you ever seen someone who is more comfortable with the Stanley Cup? Well, Brian Leetch looked uneasy the other night receiving the Conn Smythe Trophy. Messier seems natural with the Stanley Cup. The crowd is roaring for Sam Rosen and John Davidson as they made their way down to City Hall from our studios at Madison Square Garden. They'll be joining us shortly. I have shake hands with about 1,000 people today. And Sam and JD, with their jackets, which will not be with them long, have made it to the podium.
You're soaking, Bruce. I can't believe it.
I'm soaking because I walked the streets and I couldn't help it, Sam.
I have to tell you, Bruce, we just had the most marvelous ride from the Garden, thanks to the New York City Police Department, Hal Lawler and
Jack McGovern.
Just great. What a ride down. They're the best. And I can't, this is undescribable. I'm speechless. It's fabulous.
Being in the police car coming down Broadway, it was thousands of people and everybody in the most wonderful festive spirit you can imagine. This is big, and you don't realize it until it gets fabulous.
The city has stopped. I was walking through Wall Street. I picked up a slip that was down on the street. They're using it as confetti. It's a $290,000 buy. It was just thrown out on the street as confetti. That's the way the city has stopped today.
And that's like you, Bruce. You're always buying. Every hour he's on the phone buying. This is fabulous. The fans are just fantastic. The New York City Police Department is doing a marvelous job. I can't say enough about them.
I'd like to say thank you. We were working inside of Madison Square Garden, and you could sense what a wonderful party this was, Bruce. And all of a sudden, I don't know how it happened, but we got kidnapped, and here we are. And I just like to say thanks, because it is very special to be here and be a part of this. This is really something.
And you know, you sense it from half a mile away. You can see the confetti coming down. You can hear the crowd noise, the rumbling. And as you get closer and closer, you see all the fans in the Rangers T-shirts and jerseys, and the outpouring of affection is just marvelous.
JD, all you see is smiles. Do you sense that everywhere?
It's just it's the most incredible thing to be around this. So many, you know, sports at times acts as a common denominator for a lot of the world. You'll see that in the future with the World Cup soccer coming to North America, and you see it with baseball, and now to have hockey act as one of the common denominators for a festive spirit and for smiles like this here in New York City. It's just a great feeling to be part of this.
And people around, you know, you look around, you see the crowds all the way down there in the back behind the trees. People just want to get a glimpse, just a little bit of a glimpse, a little touch, a little feel of what it's like to be around these champions.
John, you could follow the roar of the crowd as they were watching the parade, and as the Stanley Cup passed, in each case, the roar just amplified.
We were, as you know, we were driven over here by the police officers and dropped off a little bit away from City Hall, and then we walked, but you could hear it, you could hear it, you could hear it. You knew you were sort of missing something, and all of a sudden, boom, here it was. You kind of hope that time sort of suspends itself so you can stop and really be fully realized as to what's happening.
All right, guys, we got to get ready for the festivities. I know you're looking forward to it. This is going to be something to remember and something to cherish for a long, long time. We'll come back to City Hall with all of our coverage of the Stanley Cup Victory Parade for the Rangers in a moment.
MSG congratulates Coach Mike Keenan, Mark Messier, Brian Leach, and the rest of the 1994 Stanley Cup champion New York Rangers.
Welcome back to City Hall, everyone. Former Mayor Ed Koch has come out on the podium, as has former Mayor David Dinkins. It is a crowd loaded with dignitaries, celebrities, and players and coaches and all types of people involved with the New York Rangers. Now, we're just a couple of moments away from Al Trotwick, who will carry us through the special ceremonies here at City Hall. The parade route actually was not that long. I believe it was probably less than a mile, but it took almost an hour or so for the lead vehicles to make it down here. They only go about 5 miles per hour, but I think it was well worth it because everyone got a good look at the Rangers players, the Stanley Cups, the marching bands, which came today from all 5 different boroughs, and members of the New York Police Department, which did a marvelous job. You know, it's really a ticker tape parade in name only. Computer paper has replaced the nearly obsolete stock tapes, and the Department of Sanitation measures ticker tape and sheer tonnage. In 1968, 1986, 648 tons after the Mets World Series win. In 1981, 971 tons for the American U.S. hostages released from Iran, and who knows how much it will cost and how much tonnage will be involved for the Department of Sanitation today. Well, they're blaring music down here on the floor. And all you can see is seas of white shirts and Ranger players. David Dinkins also up on the podium. All of the former mayors, Ed Koch, sharing in the joy of something that hasn't been accomplished since 1940. We understand former Mayor John Lindsay was also invited, but was out of town and unable to attend today's special festivities. They are boogieing in the streets. I have seen about 5 or 6 different Stanley Cups, many of them with tinfoil, but for the first time, the real Stanley Cup has made a New York appearance. We're going to take a short break. We'll come back to City Hall for more of our coverage of the Stanley Cup Victory Parade, so stay with us on MSG Network. Hot and steamy at City Hall in New York City, but no one is complaining. It is a marvelous day for a parade, and 1 million strong have turned out in New York City to salute their heroes, the New York Rangers, who captured the Stanley Cup for the first time since 1940. Right now, a little look back at the Rangers' success with some help from Van Halen.
Tomorrow.
breakaway. Cuts in, he shoots, he scores! And that, my friends, will bury the New York Islanders.
Zubov finds Leach. Leach is in. He scores! What are you waiting for?
A rebound in front. Neto scores! That's the winner! That is a winner!
Neto around the net. Neto puts it. Score! Score! The Rangers win! The Rangers win! They're going to the final!
Hey! So tomorrow, come on! It's everything! Catch that man! Moment and do it right!
Here comes Foray against Mike Richter. Saved by Richter. Moves backhander save and a score! Messier!
Right here now! Right now! Right now!
And right now at City Hall, it is happening as people have turned out in droves to witness a day to remember. The New York Rangers being honored on the steps of City Hall for their Stanley Cup accomplishments. Bruce Beck with the bullet, Bob Page. And Bob, what do you make of all of this?
I was riding in Mike Keenan's float at the front of it. Never, ever, ever seen anything like this in my life. I've been in this business 20 years. I've covered world championship teams before. The outpouring of joy, the enthusiasm was the most spectacular and the most moving thing I have ever experienced in my life. And I told Keenan when we got off the float back at City Hall, a young coach like he is, he may have his name on the Stanley Cup, who knows, 5, 6 more times in his career, but he will never experience any moment like today. It's so difficult to even put into words, Bruce. It was just amazing.
New York Rangers played 116 games this year. They won 75. Bob, they started the year in September. It's now 9 months later. Hey, if that's what it takes to get a victory parade like this, I think any team would be willing to go through it.
Well, you know, Bruce, I'm not sure there ever will be another victory parade like this again. There's been a lot of discussion here today about the Knicks. As we all know, if the Knicks win this game at the Garden tonight, we could have 2 victory parades. But they won 2 world championships 20 years ago. The 53, 54-year drought for the Rangers, all the pent-up frustration that boiled over when they won. The Rangers may well win the Stanley Cup again next year. They've got a solid nucleus, even though the team is aging. But there won't be a celebration like this next year or ever again. This was special.
Well, the words that you can forget about are vexed and hexed and jinx. Those are words which have now been forgotten, along with another year, 1940. Another year, I don't think you'll hear that chant much, Bob.
I don't think we'll hear it at all again. The feeling that I had today riding in that parade was a little bit different than I had at the end of the game the other night. I don't know how you felt, because you've been around the Rangers longer than I have. But I was actually, believe it or not, I was actually choked up at the end of that game in the Garden the other night with emotion. I mean, just as I said, the frustration and the culmination of this tremendous season that they've had. I wasn't feeling that way today. Just the joy and the exuberance, I think, were the catchwords, the bywords today.
Well, one of the guys who shared in the joy was Adam Graves, who had such a marvelous year for the New York Rangers. Graves scoring 52 goals, becoming only the second Ranger in history to record that magic 50 number. And he talked to Al Trautwig following Game 7 in the Rangers locker room.
The way this city feels about this team is very, very special and very unique. I wonder if now that you finally won it, and we know there is no curse, whether it went through your mind, even for a fleeting moment, that something weird's going on here.
You know what? I might have felt that way, but something happened about 6 weeks ago to an avid Ranger fan, a lady by the name of Cecile Seidel. I don't know if you're familiar with that story, but
yes, we are.
Anyways, I think she took the Garden Ghost, kicked it right out of the rafters, and fortunately enough, didn't haunt us this year, and we were able to win. And I can't say enough about the guys, because it comes down to doing it as a team. That's from Mike Keenan to Dick Todd to Soupy Campbell to all the players. It was great.
Adam, what was the biggest difference in this team's approach this season compared to all the others?
One word: belief. We believed in each other, and we believed in what our cause was, and we were able to stick to that belief through thick and thin. We did things a tough way all year, and fortunately enough, we ended up on top.
Tomorrow morning you'll be laying in bed. Hopefully you probably didn't get any sleep.
Probably with a headache.
but you'll have a chance to think about this. Can you just describe at all, after all the commitment, all the hours, all the games, all the hits, all the goals, what it means?
You know what? it'd just be nice to get back to living normal. This has really consumed me. I don't think I've ever, the game's ever been as big in my mind or in my life as it has this last couple weeks. And I've been fortunate. I've been surrounded by great people, starting with my fiancée Violet, who makes it a heck of a lot easier when I'm normally I'm in a great mood all the time, but lately I've been a little grumpy and a little ornery, and you know, it's you have to sacrifice a lot, and it's all worth it though. I mean, there's not a better feeling than bring her home to New York.
And Adam, it's just like you to think of someone like
Rangers number one. Rangers number one.
They got me, Booby. But it's just like you, Adam. It's just like you to mention someone like Seal Seidel on a night like this, and that's one of the things that New York's come to love about you. Thanks. Congratulations.
My pleasure. Thank you.
That was Adam Graves the other night with Al Trotwig, and right now Al Trotwig has made his way to the podium to begin the formal ceremony. Let's pick up the podium.
The New York Rangers. Before we bring out the team, I think there's one thing we should all do. We're all together, and we've been yelled at for years about this. One last time, let's get rid of the curse. 1940. 1940. And now the new chant. What's that going to sound like? And now let's begin by introducing the 1994 Stanley Cup champion New York Rangers. First, the training staff. Bruce Liprieri, Dave Smith, Mike Folga, and Joe Murphy. Assistant General Manager Larry Plow. Assistant Coach Dick Todd. Assistant Coach Colin Campbell. The President of Madison Square Garden, Bob Gutkowski. Ranger President and General Manager Neil Smith and his wife Katja. And now the players. Barry Richter. Mike Hartman. Mike Hudson. Eddie Olczyk. Joby Messier. Alexander Karpovtsev. A real Stanley Cup Finals hero, Doug Lidster. Three-time Stanley Cup champion, Greg Gilbert. And Mr. Personality, Glenn Healy. Joey Koster's playing cameraman, so wave to him. Joey Koster. Matthias Nordstrom. Brian Noonan. A last-minute insertion into Game 7, Nick Kyprios. He waited 15 years, gave his blood and teeth to this thing. Jay Wells. He's known this feeling before, but not quite like this. Glenn Anderson. Matteau. One of the first Russians ever on the Stanley Cup, Sergei Nemchinov. He drove the Vancouver Canucks crazy. And now you can be crazy with him. Esa Tikkanen. With 1.6 seconds to go, Mike Keenan said, "You're the man to take this face-off." And he did. And the Rangers won. Craig McTavish. scorer for the Rangers this season, and truly one of the new great stars of the future New York Rangers, Sergei Zubov. He starred in Game 7, and it's only a hint of things to come. Alexei Kovalov. Now make the entire city think you're booing him. Jeff Bookaboo. Now the alternate captains of the Rangers. 52 goals in a Ranger uniform. No one's ever done that before. Adam Gray. Like so many other players, he waited an awful long time for this, but what an important acquisition he was to this team. He was the first player in the locker room every day, Steve Larmer. His name is on the Stanley Cup.
Are a little hard to set up on your computer, and
Kevin Lowe. The next Ranger was an absolute wall. Absolute wall. Mike Richter. September, Mike Keenan showed a videotape to his players of what today would look like. Now it's not on tape, now it's really happening. Mike Keenan was the man who told these players that they could do it if they committed, and he helped them along the way. Mark Messier said the speech he gave prior to Game 7 was the most inspirational he ever heard. So for New York, he delivered the Stanley Cup. And here is Mike Keenan. There's a mythical locker room. It's in all of our hearts and all of our minds. Babe Ruth is in there, Joe D, Lou Gehrig, Mickey Mantle, Whitey Ford, Joe Namath, LT, Tom Seaver, Gil Hodges. Well, they're about to have someone new enter that locker room. He earned it. He guaranteed it. The captain of the New York Rangers, Mark Messier. National anthem. In honor of the team that put up a great fight, Oh Canada. And then the Star-Spangled Banner with John Amarante. Oh Canada, our home and native land, you take your life, sing all our songs tonight, with glowing hearts we see thee rise, but do not strong and free, from far and wide, oh Canada,
we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land, glorious and free. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, all the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Madison Square Garden Network. It's one of the great honors of my life to be here with you today. One man made this day possible, and it takes a lot to get this thing going in a couple of days. It takes a mayor, a man like the mayor of New York City, Mr. Rudolph Giuliani.
Thank you very much. Please be seated. Everyone be seated. Great. It's now my great honor to present to the people of the city of New York the 1994 Stanley Cup champions, our New York Rangers! Now it's official, the curse is broken. The Rangers are number one, and New York is number one. For over half a century, the Rangers have not had a championship. They came close a couple of times with some of the great names in hockey, many of them with us today. Andy Bathgate, Jean Rattel, Eddie Giacomin, Rod Gilbert, Vic Hadfield, Ron Greshner, Ulf Nielsen, Dave Maloney, Emile the Cat Francis, John Davidson. But they never drank from a Stanley Cup until late Tuesday night, when every New York hockey fan, their dream came true. This Ranger team not only stands at center ice this afternoon, it's taken an entire city, taken its heart, and this city loves the Rangers. This parade, this reception is for the players and the coaches and the owners and all those who work with the Rangers. It's to say thank you. It's also to say thank you to the very best fans in America, the fans in New York. The last time the Rangers won a championship, Fiorello LaGuardia was the mayor of New York City. To show you that continuity of support, just the way the fans supported the Rangers for 53 years until this one, I've invited all the living mayors to come back today to pay tribute to the Rangers. John Lindsay couldn't be with us because he's in Virginia. but he was the mayor of the city of New York during the Mets' first championship and the Knicks' only 2 championships until this year. Mayor A. Beam is here with us. Mayor Beam, will you please stand up? Mayor Beam was the mayor during the Yankees' win over the Dodgers in 1977, in which Reggie Jackson became Mr. October the way Mark Messier is now Mr. June. Mayor Ed Koch is also here. He was the mayor during the Yankees' 1978 victory and during the Mets' 1986 World Championship. And Mayor David Dinkins is now here. Mayor Dinkins? Mayor Dinkins was the mayor during the Giants Super Bowl victory, and he was the mayor when this season began, and I share this, whatever credit we get, Dave, I share it with you. Thank you. Make no mistake about it, to every one of these Rangers, this is your home. New York is your home. It doesn't make any difference if you came from Edmonton or Quebec, Ontario or Alberta, even if you came from Vancouver. Today, New York is home. And this is the time to applaud the Vancouver Canucks for a great performance. The mere fact that none of you come from New York should make none of you feel that you're not at home. None of us came from New York either. We all came from somewhere else, or our parents did, or our grandparents did. But what we find in New York is what you saw during the spirit of that parade. This is, in fact, the most remarkable city in the world, and they showed it today to this team that they love. The Rangers have just been given what I believe is the most wonderful parade that can be given to anyone, to any group of champions. Your double overtime victory in Game 7 of the semifinals against the New Jersey Devils was the greatest game in the history of hockey. Matto, yes, come on. Your 3-2 victory in Game 7 over the Canucks, that was the most exciting and most dramatic last 2 minutes in the history of hockey. You're talented, you're exceptional, but the thing that we love about you the most is that you work so hard. You are so conscientious. You give a great example to all of the people of New York. I want to thank each one of the sponsors who helped to sponsor this parade. We'll give you all their names so that you can have them and appreciate the fact that they've helped us put this parade together. Governor Mario Cuomo wanted to be here today very, very much. Please, the governor is in Albany trying to work out the strike that's going on with the Long Island Railroad. The governor asked me to say for the entire state of New York, thank you to the Rangers and thank you to the Ranger fans. It's now my great honor to present to you, could you please come up here, Neil? To present to you the general manager of the Rangers. He held this team together during the tough years, and he's held it together now through this great year. His selection of the coach and the players was inspired, and his love for his sport and for his players has created a tremendous morale on this team. He and his wife, Katia, live right here in Manhattan, in New York City. He takes the subway to work. And from the first moment that I met them until now, they tell me how much they love this city. And I can see it in the way in which the Rangers present their game every single time they play. That wonderful video of New York shown on the screen. This is a true New Yorker. It's my pleasure to introduce the general manager of the Rangers, Neil Smith, a New Yorker.
Thank you. I don't need to say very much with a voice like this. You know what I've been doing? I just want to thank Mayor Giuliani for an unbelievable last few days in the parade for the New York Rangers. But most of all, I want to thank the best people in the world, and that's you. We did this for you, fans. Thank you. It was always a dream to bring the Stanley Cup into New York City, and we did it. Mark did it, Mike did it, and the players. And we did it because we wanted to be New Yorkers. We love New York City, and we know we have the best fans in the whole world. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Neil. My partner in city government is Peter Vallone, the Speaker of the New York City Council. Peter is a great New Yorker who works hard to help this city, the entire city. He is a great sports fan and a great Ranger fan. It's my privilege to present the Speaker of the City Council, Peter Vallone.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We presented to all of you something that's going to go down in history the same way your names are now on this cup, with a lot of other great players. But on behalf of all 50 of my colleagues, and indeed all 8 million of the people in the city of New York, thanks for bringing such great honor to the Big Apple, and we'll never forget you. Thank you.
This man has led teams before to the best record in hockey. This man has led teams before to great seasons and great victories. He is a leader, and when you watch a Ranger game and you see him standing behind the Rangers on the bench, it reminds me of something that Phil Rizzuto told me about Joe DiMaggio. Phil Rizzuto said that he loved playing with Joe DiMaggio because even when the Yankees were losing 10-0, and it was the 8th inning, he would look out in center field and he would see Joe DiMaggio standing there. He'd turn back to the plate and say, "We're going to win." This man does the same thing for the Rangers. He is a great strategist, but most importantly, he is a great leader of men and of hockey players. And he brought the cup to New York. Thank you, Mike Keenan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
First of all, on behalf of our hockey club, I'd like to express my deep appreciation We love the pressure, don't we? Our players were committed from day one. In September, before our departure to London, England, they made a huge and rich and deep commitment to win the Stanley Cup. They carried that commitment from September until June the 14th, 1994, when they finally defeated the Vancouver Canucks. We can't say enough about the leadership of Mark Messier. And all the players that wore this uniform this year. They wore it with a great deal of pride and success. And we owe this to them, the people on the ice who got the job done, who brought the Stanley Cup back to New York City. I'd also like to thank Mr. Neil Smith, Mr. Bob Bukowski for having me here as the coach of the New York Rangers to give me the opportunity to work with these people, the greatest athletes in the game. I thank you, Neil. I thank you, Bob. I have to say also that we were able to win the 7th game because of the support that you gave us throughout the city and during the game. That was an extremely difficult game and contest to win. But our fan support stuck with us. When the score was 2-1, when the score was 3-2, you helped us finish it off. We're indebted to you, and we appreciate the fact that New York City, you the fans, love the New York Rangers. And we'll always remember this day forever. The one thing that we mentioned to the players was that if you win this trophy, you win this cup, you'll walk together forever. And they will walk together forever with you, New York City. Thank you.
Do we want him back? How many more years? We got one more. And now it is my great honor to present one of the very biggest hockey fans in New York City. He's been a hockey fan for many years, rooting for teams that got close, rooting for teams that didn't do too well, but rooting nonetheless for the Rangers. He also happens to be one of the most respected and one of the most influential leaders in our state. He is the Speaker of the State of New York, Sheldon Silver.
Thank you, Rudy, and thank you, Rangers. It's unbelievable. I've been a diehard Ranger fan for almost a half a century. I wasn't born in 1940, but I started out 37 years ago with my GO card and 50 cents in the side balcony of the old garden. I want mess also. All I want to say is congratulations to the Rangers. You've done a wonderful job for New York City, for New York State. Thank you to the people of this city for showing in this celebration exactly what New York is about. The Rangers are winners, New York is winners, and Al Troutwig, the real chant now is 1995. That's the chant. Thank you.
And now we're going to present the key to the city to each one of the Rangers. Give you a chance to show each one of them individually, one more time, how much you love them, how much you appreciate them, and how much you're already cheering them on for next season.
Let's start off with a man who scored 2 goals that won the first 2 games that the Rangers needed to win 4 in the Stanley Cup Finals. Glenn Anderson. Here we go. Next, a Ranger who plays it tough. Doesn't know it any other way. He tried to play in pain in Game 7, but he couldn't finish. How did you guess? Jeff Bukaboom. When Mike Keenan coached this player in Chicago, he noticed something, and we saw it come true. Because when it comes to pressuring the puck and creating things out of nothing, Greg Gilbert does things like that. Greg Gilbert. It's difficult to imagine how this Ranger had time to dedicate himself to playing hockey, but he did. That's because he dedicates his life to so many other lives. Adam Graves scored a goal in Game 7. It gave the Rangers a lead they never gave up. Adam Graves. Last year, Glenn Healy was a hero in these Stanley Cup playoffs. We know what kind of a goaltender he is, and having spent a full season with him, we know what kind of a person he is. And he's a great guy. Glenn Healy. One of the strong suits of the Rangers this season was their defense. And some of the younger defensemen who learned quickly along the way so that when it came time to play key playoff games, they could make big contributions. Alexander Karpovtsev is one of those defensemen. Alex, you're key to the city. The next Ranger couldn't barely walk in Game 7, but still up until about 10 minutes before game time, he thought he could play. And play before that, he did. Joey Kocur, a key to the city. One of the great goals of that Game 7 was the one that Brian Leetch scored. But for Brian to score that goal, the puck had to get on his stick. The man who put the puck on his stick knows what to do with the puck when he gets the puck as well. Alexei Kovalov. Ten minutes before Game 7, he got a call to play. At one point in the game, he got run into the board so hard, a normal person would have left the game with a concussion. Nick Kypreos just got up and kept on skating. When you relive Game 7 and you play that videotape again, look at who the key players were on the ice in the last few minutes. They were there because they've been there. They've been in the big games before and they've made the big plays. Steve Larmer was one of the Rangers on the ice for that last minute. Steve? Game 4 of the Stanley Cup Finals was taken over by one of the great defensemen to ever put on skates. They've compared him with someone else in hockey history, and that's never bad, especially when that man is Bobby Orr. He's the Conn Smythe Trophy winner, Brian Leetch. What would it be like at work if you went weeks, even months before your boss called you to make a contribution to the company, and then one day he called your name? And you stayed prepared the entire time and you made the contribution. That's what Doug Lidster did to this Rangers Stanley Cup. Okay. Esa Tikkanen said, speed it up, it's hot. Okay. He played with a separated shoulder. That's hockey. That's Kevin Lowe. He's the easiest Ranger to spot on the ice for two reasons. He doesn't wear a helmet, and he works so damn hard. Craig McTavish. There was no greater overtime hero in this Rangers team than someone else that Mike Keenan knew from a different time and a different city, but now he's part of the Rangers' history and their legacy. Stefan Matteau. From street hockey in Boston to the steps of City Hall. Not a bad transition for Brian Noonan. There's tremendous pride on the four members of this Rangers team because they've done something for their country that hadn't been done before. He was a big performer for the New York Rangers. One of the goals that he set up for Glenn Anderson in the finals was truly memorable. Sergei Nemchinov. contributed in the games of the playoffs. Some guys did their support during this long season and helping their teammates out in practice and keeping the spirit up, but there's no doubt that he made big contributions too during games. One of the things he did was turn his jacket inside out. Game 7 against the Devils, it worked. Eddie Olczyk. Eddie. Yeah, go ahead.
I would just like to say there were two famous words that we had in our dressing room all season long, and if anybody's ever been in a tug of war, it's sticking together and just pulling all in the same direction. And every day we've said these two words, and I want my teammates in all of New York City to give me 3 big heave-hoes together. Heave-ho! 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 This one is unbelievable. There's only one thing better, and that's 2. Heave-ho! 2 in a row! Heave-ho! 2 in a row! Heave-ho! 2 in a row!
I believe that was an ad lib. There he stood at center ice, one of the great goal scorers in the game, the Rangers trailing in Game 4. The only thing standing between Pavel Bure and a 3-1 Vancouver Canucks lead was saved by Richter. And he made it. Mike Richter. He wanted me to speed this up, so here's Esa Tikkanen. Because of the way the playoffs work, there's no way that the Rangers didn't need every capable body they had. And after 15 years in hockey, Jay Wells' body was much more than capable. For as beat up as he must have been in Game 7, he played so well. Jay Wells. Jay. People talk about the future of this team. They're going to get their keys to the city too, because like so many other people, their contributions were of note. Barry Richter. Barry. He's got the right name. Joby Messier. Mike Hartman. And Matthias Nordstrom. When you look back at Game 7, just remember the vision of watching Sergei Zubov go coast to coast, never taking his eyes off the play in front of him. What a great time we're going to have watching him in the years to come. What a great time we're going to have watching him defend the Stanley Cup. Sergei Zubov. In Game 7, we did something in the studios of MSG for good luck, because I had watched how much this man cared during the season and in the playoffs, because we watched so many of the games together. He epitomizes the spirit of this team, and he's been there once before also with Mike Keenan, so this has got to be extra sweet. For Mike Hudson. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Yep. You know who we've left out. The captain, Mark Messier. your keys for the president and general manager of the New York Rangers. This is a guy who knows virtually every man who ever wore the sweater. He lives this franchise. He knew the history. He knows the future because he's planned it. Neil Smith. Madison Square Garden's a great place to work. And one of the most important reasons for that is the president, Bob Gutkowski. Bob? Mike Keenan knew the key to winning the Stanley Cup, and now he too has a key to the city of New York.
There's a group of people we have to acknowledge as well, and I'm just going to take a brief moment to do it. Two groups of people. One is Colin Campbell and Dick Todd, my assistant coaches. And the most important group of people are the families of the players. Their wives, children, parents, extended family, and the people that are there for them in the good times and the bad. This is a good time, and I hope that they all enjoy it as much as the players are, because they're a big part of their lives and a very important part of their lives. Thank you to the families.
Well, we're down near the end. I'm looking at a proclamation from the office of the mayor of the city of New York, proclaiming this, if you can all believe it, New York Rangers Day in the city.
Peter? Just have them present these. We have 3 proclamations. One from New York City proclaiming it New York Rangers Day, and one from the City Council
proclaiming every New York Ranger a New York Ranger forever.
And one from
the New York State Legislature for the blue seats without the frame.
We have one more thought before introducing the final speaker. Go Knicks! You like it here, right? You want to come back, right? Go Knicks! Okay. And now, there'll be one final word. One final word, one final speaker. Mark Messier.
Thank you very much. Just a couple short words. I know everybody's been here a long time, but I think Jimmy Valvano, the late great Jimmy Valvano, said it best when he says, "Don't give up, don't ever give up." And I think you guys have proven that theory right. And what Mike Keenan also said is that you win at this and we'll walk together for the rest of our lives. Having experienced this before, I can honestly tell you that is the honest truth, that we will walk together for the rest of our lives. And just briefly, there's also some people that were forgotten a little bit. I'd just like to say on behalf of my teammates and the entire organization, thank you to all our trainers who worked more hours than we did throughout the year, that made all this possible for us and did the job for us behind the scenes that nobody ever sees, to all our trainers. And on behalf of all my teammates, we'd like to thank the city, Mayor Giuliani, and all you people for a day in our lives that we'll never forget. And I kind of like the way Eddie Olczyk said it, that we're having so much fun here this year, we might as well come back next year. We love you, New York. Woo!
is that everybody got a chance to wake up the next day and feel a little bit better about this city and believe that anything is possible. We'll have a chance to live with that for a summer, and we'll have a chance to see that banner raised to the roof of Madison Square Garden. To Seal Seidel, you got it. And to all of you, you do too. Thanks for coming, and congratulations.
Welcome back to City Hall. We're at Park Row near Murray Street, Chambers Street, and Broadway. And the presentation just completed as New York Rangers and their fans were given a date to remember, and the players given a key to the city. Well, there were some dramatic moments and some memorable moments. One of them when Mike Keenan got up to speak and the crowd just started to chant 4 more years. I thought it was very well done, Al.
I think the fans are so in tune with what's happening here. I mean, they want this to continue in every respect, and I think Mike Keenan's handled it with sort of a sly smile, but it was loud. It was very loud.
Eddie Olczyk talking about heave ho, the Ranger chant for the entire season. As a matter of fact, the other day when they took the picture at the Garden on the ice, that's what the players started to chant, heave ho.
Now, that's why the players named him the players' player. You know, we didn't get a lot to see of Eddie Olczyk during the season, and you know, guys like us talk an awful lot about the contributions that are made in practice. But on this team, it really was the story. I mean, here was a guy who feels comfortable enough on a team that he doesn't play a lot for to do that. He feels that comfortable because of how strong the relationships were in practice and the amount of leadership that he had with the team.
And this was a team where the players submerged their egos for the good of the team. Now you have to talk about Mark Messier, and as usual, Messier was very poignant in quoting the late Jim Valvano saying, "Don't give up, don't ever give up." Words that many of us remember that Jimmy used to say.
You know, when the players were making everyone wait here for the ceremonies to begin, they had the entire Rangers team up in a big room on the second floor of City Hall. And all the members of City Council were up there, some of the mayor's police detachment. All the trophies were there, the Stanley Cup, the Conn Smythe, the Wales Trophy. And so they were all taking photographs. Mark Messier sat up on the top level, up on the podium, off to the side, and had his arms crossed. He's been through a lot, I guess, for the past couple of days. And he had this smile on his face as if to say, we did this. We did all this, and this is New York. And when I looked at him, I said, this day, this ticker tape parade in this city sets this one apart from the other 5. And he said, without a doubt.
Messier's final words, we love you, New York. So the Stanley Cup has been around the world, but it finally has made its way to New York City. And right now, it is sitting inside of City Hall. What a pretty sight. We'll be back with more in a moment. June 17, 1994, City Hall, New York City, the place to be. The New York Rangers honored by the city for winning the precious, the elusive Stanley Cup. And Al Trotwood, you think back to so many moments that led up to this great day, and one happened in New Jersey And it looked for a while as though the New York Rangers were done and their dreams were killed.
And then, of course, the victory in Game 7 that made that guarantee sealed, and then the Stanley Cup, which made it even better. But it was prior to Game 6 when Mark Messier said he just wanted to give his teammates a little boost in confidence.
Right there, right
then
there.
What happened was truly remarkable and legendary in hockey.
Neil Smith.
I feel grateful to be part of the team. I feel grateful to be alive and living in Los Angeles. And I'm guaranteeing everybody here, next year we're going to win it again.
We will win the ball game. And you can put it in 3-inch headlines. We will win the ball game.
Get you a seat and relax. Fight is scheduled for 15 rounds if there's no machine guns or bombs fired. So enjoy yourself and be among those who dare to dare.
Not since Broadway Joe in Super Bowl III and a victory over the Colts has a New York guarantee stood up until Mark Messier said, "We will win tonight," in bold type. But it didn't look good for the Rangers captain early. In the first period, a bad break looked like a bad sign. Zelepukin cross-eyes to Niedermeyer, and it goes in off Nemchinov's stick. 1-0 Devils. End of the first. Nichols to Niedermeyer again. His point shot deflected through Richter's legs by Claude Lemieux. 2-0 New Jersey. In the second, the Devils continued the onslaught. Mike Keenan used his timeout, yet didn't say a word. Meantime, Mike Richter kept the Rangers in the game. When another goal could have ended it, he stops McLean and Bernie Nichols. Without him, there was no guarantee.
We had a few 3-on-1s in the second period there that we could have put the game away, but Mikey came up big. And then it was more or less the Mark Messier show.
Then Mike Keenan made a key decision, moving Alexei Kovalov back to Mark Messier's line.
I thought it was a great move by Mike to put Alex there. We needed to start penetrating and gaining the blue line, and Alex handles the puck so well, and the way he can hang on to it really opened the ice up for Adam and I.
It sure was in the final 2 minutes of the second. Messier for Kovalov, who drilled it. The Rangers were on the board and very much alive. Start of the third. After killing off a Devil power play, Kovalov gains the blue line, who finds Messier, who backhands it home. The guarantee was taking hold. 2-2 with 17 to go. Then the game winner. Kovalov to Leach. Back to Kovalov, who blasted it. In front for the rebound, Mark Messier. 3-2 Rangers, 8 minutes to go. And the captain wasn't done. With 1:45 to play and Glenn Anderson in the penalty box, Brodeur on the bench, Messier steals this pass and fires it 160 feet. Dead center. A natural hat trick. The Rangers win 4-2. And Captain Mark Messier had completed a game for the ages and kept the Garden ice frozen for another day.
Well, I've never seen a clutch performance like that in hockey for sure. And I've never been a part of something like that, so it was, it was something to watch. It was amazing.
Well, legends are all about people who do things like that, and Mess is a legend, and certainly a Ranger, a legend for sure. And it's a great night for sports and a great night for the National Hockey League and, of course, the New York Rangers. But people who do that, like Muhammad Ali, they're winners, and you can't say enough. There can be books written about people like him.
It was a bold statement. I'm glad he was able to pull it out. And, the thing that I admired about it is that, he's the one that, he did everything that he had to do to win. Scored 3 goals and assists on one.
How did you come up with the idea of saying, I guarantee a win?
Well, I just really felt that we could come in here and win the game in my heart, and I just really wanted to get the guys to know and believe in themselves also, and also at this time it's not unusual to be in these situations at this time of year. You're going to have to face a lot of these situations longer on you go, and not to feel uncomfortable about it, and not to feel down about it, and the guys responded. Richter was incredible, and we got a great effort tonight.
After that, it was the double overtime magic of Stefan Matteau, and then the 7th game victory over the Vancouver Canucks for the Stanley Cup, which is inside City Hall. It'll be moving around. There'll be a barbecue a little bit later at Gracie Mansion for the Rangers. Now, joining me is Officer Giardello and Officer Madonna of the New York City Police Department. And there was so much that New York felt pride in after the Stanley Cup was won that the trouble was way out in British Columbia and not here in New York City. How about today? Was there any trouble as far as you guys knew?
As far as we know, the crowds were great. New York fans are the best. We've been here since about 8 o'clock this morning, and we had no problems. Everything went as smooth as glass. We had our barriers up, ready to go. But as far as we know, the New York crowds, they're the greatest.
Now, Officer, I don't know how the police department does this, but they somehow figure out about how many people are at certain events, whether it's a Diana Ross concert in Central Park or a New York Rangers victory parade. How about today? How many?
I think they said it was about close to 1 million here today. I guess the whole parade.
1 million?
I guess from Battery Park to here, I would say so. Like, again, the fans showed a lot of class, the way they behaved themselves. Good bunch of people.
All right, big commitment on the part of the city, some of the sponsors for the New York Rangers, and how many police officers on duty today?
To tell you the truth, I couldn't even tell you.
A lot, right? A lot.
There was just a sea of blue out there. That's all I know.
All right, so there were many more. All right, now, Rudolph.
Congratulate the Rangers. Messier, Leach.
All right, thanks a lot. Officers Giardello and Madonna, there's a press conference, and the mayor, Rudy Giuliani, is speaking.
So let me present Al Saraleghi of Sports Illustrated.
Thank you. On behalf of Sports Illustrated, we want to congratulate the New York Rangers and the city of New York on this great Stanley Cup. We did two special things at Sports Illustrated. First, we stopped the presses like Perry White used to do with the Daily Planet for 8 hours so we could get the Ranger victory in. There's two editions of Sports Illustrated out this week, the regular issue, and for the New York metropolitan area, a special New York Rangers victory issue that includes the game. The other first that we've done is our first ever commemorative issue of the Stanley Cup championship. This is the first time we've done this in hockey, and we want to thank the Rangers for giving us the opportunity.
Thank you. For the media that's here, we'll open it up to questions for Mark Messier or Neil Smith or Mike Keenan. We'll ask that if a question comes in that they just come up here and answer it from here. Please raise your hand and I'll choose the person for the question. Right here? Mark. Mark.
Can you just describe the feeling going down the street? What it was like? Describe it.
Well, I think early in September when we had first came together to start the year off, Mike had showed us a tape with some music and some clips of past parades here in New York, and I think that image was one of the things that really stuck in all of our minds throughout the season. When times got tough and we got a little tired and things looked a little down for us, I think that one image always came to our minds forefront and was always there to spur us on. So when we finally got a chance to live that dream, it was pretty incredible.
Did the New York fans live up to their reputation?
Oh, I think the New York fans certainly outdid themselves today.
When you came here a few years ago, you were given a dream, not just even with the Cup, but with the sponsors.
Well, I think the dreams are one of the things that keep you going. And I think deep down in every one of us here that was part of the whole organization, players, and everybody had the dream that one day we could be sitting on one of those floats going down there with the Stanley Cup and down Broadway for the parade. But, you know, it took a lot of hard work, and you know, it just goes to show that dreams do come true.
Questions? That's a first, Barry. Okay, right here, Gabe.
Well, obviously not. I think that there's been a lot of people dreaming about this day for a long time, and like I said, you know, with the late great Jimmy Valvano and the speech that he delivered shortly before he died, his message was just don't give up, don't ever give up. And I think a lot of people live by that here in New York, and players alike, and finally made this day come true.
Well, now the cleanup is underway. The New York City Police Department is assembling to remove their barricades, and you can see the tons of ticker tape that remains on the streets of New York. But there are literally thousands of men assigned to do that, and they're doing it with cheer because most of the sanitation men that I saw were Ranger fans. It's the day New York celebrates the Stanley Cup for the Rangers. Back on MSG in a moment. Special thanks to the Gulf Airship for providing additional coverage on MSG. It's one of the largest airships in the world, 197 feet long, 7 stories high. We'd like to thank Hunter Harris and Peter Buckley for piloting the Gulf Airship today. Well, this is one day we could just talk about forever. And John Davidson and Dave Maloney are here, and we've heard so much about what the players think already, JD, and you and Sam back in the studios. But, you know, the feeling, as I said on the air before, of seeing you sip the Stanley Cup and seeing you Game 7, Dave, was that you actually felt like you guys had won a little piece of this, huh?
Well, there's no question. They carried an awful lot of baggage, these boys that were playing.
Just a little bit.
And I do want to say, if JD hadn't got hurt in '79, you see, we might have been out here. No,
I think it was more the guy who hit Bunny LaRock in the head. That's who I think.
To be honest, you know, we were here in '79, but there wasn't quite as many people.
No, it was as hot. I can remember it being as hot that day. But in all fairness, outside, the two things that I really came away with was it's funny how life works, you know, when you come here from a farm in Canada and you manage to stick around and the franchise gets frustrated. Then I, as a spectator, am able to watch and take part of it. It was wonderful. And secondly, with all the hoopla and all the emotional baggage of the franchise, that Game 7 was a spectacular hockey
It really
game.
was.
My goodness, what a game.
And New York City really showed its best side,
You know,
right? Huh?
All these ex-players, David, myself, and others who live in the greater New York area, again, hockey was number 4, and we knew it, and we respected that fact. At least we were up there. But it seems to me in this last few days, it seems to have gone like this a little bit, and we feel pretty darn good about it. Really, and New York City, spectacular. This is a great place to be.
And I think the bell curve is on its way up. I mean, at least in this town. How many years did you hear from people who scoffed at hockey and said, I don't know what you guys are talking about. There are only 18,000 Ranger fans, and they come to every game. But we had a policeman here a moment ago who's talking 1 million, maybe 500,000, whatever it was huge.
The perception of the game is changing, I think, Hal. The perception is turning into reality that it is a great sport. Upstairs behind us here, I was just in there with the players and their wives, and a gentleman got up from Sports Illustrated, and he was handing out commemorative issues of the New York Rangers run to the Stanley Cup that'll be sold right now in the New York area. And to see Sports Illustrated do that in this area, this is all part of it. It's growing, and it's wonderful.
Hey, Dave, you know, he has gone big time. You know how he got here? Anchoring in the studio back at the Garden. A police escort comes for JD and Sam so they could be here.
It's all right. He deserves it. He does a terrific job, and it's just good stuff. I can't believe it's still JD, but it's still JD.
2 years ago,
JD.
we used to be in the back of those police cruisers, David, but it wasn't for something like this.
Now, you wrote in your column today in the Daily News things about a lot of the Rangers who should take pride in what this team has done. And if I remember correctly, you talked about Dave Maloney, big game situations. This is the kind of... Is that what you said about Dave?
No, that was bad. And
so what was it
about David? Yeah. Always had a big heart when he played the game. Always played with emotion. Always, you knew when David played, he would